the City of London Cemetery. This is our first little taster of it. It's a massive cemetery, very complex, and some very interesting people buried in there. So as I've said before, I'm going to do this one in batches of 3, so 3 filmings, and there'll be other stuff in like content in between that, because this one's going to take a long time to cover, and I don't want to be doing the same thing too much, if you know what I mean. But yeah, this is the gate and gatehouse. Notice the City of London Corporation arms above the gate, and this is a picture of it, or an image, an engraving of it from when it first opened in the 1850s, and as you can see, not too much has changed really. So yeah, but by the mid-19th century, London churchyards were full to overflowing. So William J. Hayward, chief engineer to the City of London Commission of Sewers, in 1849 reported on the poor condition of the city's churchyards and of the health risks this posed. So to rectify this, the 1850 Metropolitan Interment Act allowed parishes to buy land outside of London to provide new cemeteries, and after the 1853 Burial Act, almost all burials took place in the new cemeteries outside the city centre. So as many of you have heard me say in my London churchyard tours before, they banned pretty much all burials in London churches and churchyards because it became a nasty, smelly health risk. There are stories of people having to run through churchyards with perfume-soaked rags held to their nose to get in and out of church. That's how bad it got. So the commissioners decided that the cemetery should be built for the city's 106 parishes, which would replace burial within the city churchyards. In 1853, about 200 acres of former farmland, part of the manor of Aldersbrook and belonging to the 2nd Duke of Wellington, son of the more famous 1st Duke of Wellington. We see the 2nd Duke of Wellington here, and he's the son of the really famous Duke of Wellington. Purchased from the 2nd Duke of Wellington, and was sold to the Corporation of the City of London for £30,721. The new cemetery was then built under the direction of Hayward, and the first burial was in 1856. Now when we start part 1 of our actual cemetery tour, I will show you the burial register and the very first entry for the very first burial. Hello ladies and gents, hope you all enjoyed the intro. Bit of a difference, I know, with that one, but I decided to include the same history segment in the beginning of this part as well, so for those that didn't watch the intro, because it may not be everyone's thing, and to try and keep it a bit more coherent of just the cemetery. And as promised, here is that first burial. (1856) June the 24th. Abraham Wall of number 5 Suffolk Street, Bethnal Green, male, aged 16. District he came from was Bethnal Green, Middlesex. Square 41, grave number 1. Number of grant number 1, because of course it was the first grave. Second class common grave, unconsecrated. The person who performed the ceremony was James Woodard, and notes or remarks is interesting here. It's got Mary Wall, mother, father dead. So Abraham Wall was 16 years old and his father had already died before him. So that was our first burial. Anyway, on to the tour itself now, and I hope you're all going to find this interesting. Hello ladies and gents, and going to begin our tour of the City of London Cemetery. Basically a random point. This is one of the chapels, but there's a funeral going on there at the moment, so we won't be getting to see that at the moment. But this is an interesting character I found. To the memory of the Reverend Robert Hunter, MALLDFGS, that's all his titles, author of numerous works, besides the Encyclopedic Dictionary, a monument to industrious scholarship. Born at Newburgh, Fifeshire, September the 3rd, 1823, died at Forest Retreat, Loughton, Essex, February the 25th, 1897. Gentle, learned, modest, devout. In South, he never ceased to be a child. In soul, he never ceased to be a child. Oh yeah. Pause to read any of the inscriptions. There is another one on this side that we're going to see. Tutor in the College of the Presbyterian Church of England, 1864 to 1866. Founder of Victoria Docks Presbyterian Church, London. And preacher at St. Wardstone, Essex, 1870 to 1897. Sorry, keep pointing you down, don't I? Yeah, quite a prestigious man, obviously, and an interesting one too. And there's more on this side. Teacher and naturalist in Bermuda. Wow, 1843 to 1845. Missionary of the Free Church of Scotland at Nagpur, 1847 to 1855. And is there any more on the back? Yes. Erected by loving friends. We'll photograph this one. It's quite interesting, isn't it? If I can find any photos of him, they'll be following at the end of the video. There's a couple of old ones over here, and this is an interesting one too. In affectionate remembrance of Major William Edridge, died Christmas Day 1870, aged 3 years. Oh, his first name must have just been Major. I thought he was a major in the army. Also, a gem of priceless worth. That's Major William Edridge, died 3 years, Christmas Day 1870. Also, Major Edridge, father of the above, he died February the 10th, 1878, aged 43 or 48 years. Thy will be done. Also, Sophia Edridge, wife of the above, died January the 30th, 1917, aged 76 years, at rest. And you've got this one. They're very, very, very close together, so I don't know if they're related. The family grave of Samuel Henry and Emma Rebecca Marsden, in loving memory of Sarah Elizabeth, who died 24th of October 1867, aged 7 weeks. Also, Hilda, who died 23rd of February 1874, aged 3 years. Also, Jessie, who died 21st of March 1876, aged 3 years. Also, Emma Jezard, who died 10th of March 1882, aged 6 years, daughters of the above. Also, Emma Rebecca, wife of Samuel Henry Marsden, who died 7th of May 1918, aged 80 years. Also Samuel Henry Marsden, husband of the above, who died 5th of January 1926, aged 81 years. Then you've got also Eileen Marsden, who died April the 9th, 1961, aged 92. So that must have been one of their daughters. We've got more over there, but we'll continue on our way because there's some big vaults and things. Yeah, I'm glad I caught this one. And this one seems to match as well, so I wonder if in style it seems to match. Sacred to the memory of Robert Atkinson, the much loved brother of Caroline Duffield, who died 18th of January 1873, aged 59 years. Also John, the beloved husband of Caroline Duffield, who died 8th of February 1884, aged 73. Also Caroline Duffield, wife of the above, died the 31st of August 1899, aged 87 years. Matches in style, so I wondered if that was related, but yeah, look, the family grave of S and E Baker, in ever loving memory of George Malnior, only son of the above, died December the 31st, 1906, aged 19 years, interred at Sydney. That's interesting, present with the Lord. Then you've got also William Simon, or Simeon, the beloved husband of E. Baker, died December the 16th, 1917, aged 70. I know that my Redeemer lives. Also Elizabeth Baker, wife of the above, died December the 31st, 1922, aged 72 years. Then you've got also Isabel Jane McCrane, sister of the above, died February the 28th, 1933, aged 81 years. So yeah, that's just a few. Over I nearly went. I was walking in between narrow spaces, you see. Ooh, I nearly fell over. There's like a lodge type thing there. There's a load of like vaults. The family vault of Charles, James and Isabel. Muddyman, late of Stratford. Wiseman, the private vault of A.H. Wiseman, sacred to the memory of my dear wife Rebecca Florence Wiseman, Justice of the Peace. It's got Rebecca Florence Wiseman, J.P. Lamb, Mayoress of East Ham, 1920 to 21, who died the 12th of November 1926, aged 53 years. And then you've got, on this side, also of Albert Henry Wiseman, OBE JP. Oh, that's interesting. Mayor of East Ham from 1920 to 21, who fell asleep 2nd of July 1940, aged 70 years. Oh. Is there anyone else on? No, there's no one else mentioned on it. So that's interesting. As I say, these people were likely to have photographs online, especially mayors and such like, so they will appear online. As you can tell, I have walked around first and chosen particular ones. In ever precious memory of a devoted husband and father, Charles Bracy Forbes, born 25th of September 1875, died 25th of April 1934. Also Edith Grace, his beloved wife, born 18th of September 1875, died 16th of October 1946. Well, there's an interesting one that's had an inscription picked out on it as well. So I'm going to park. I've got my trolley with me today, you see, because I put Linda's new stone on, and I had to move water about, and I can't carry anything heavy, otherwise I end up in terrible pain with my shoulder and back. That's a story for another day. The family grave of Agnes Lloyd, in ever loving memory of Edward Thomas Lloyd, the beloved husband of the above, who passed away November the 24th, 1909, aged 66 years. Also of A.M. Leonard Neville, R.N.A.S., grandson of the above and beloved son of E.L. and P.M. Lloyd, who died on active service at Seaplane Station, Fishguard, 7th of November 1918, aged 19 years. Dearly loved by all which knew him. Also of the above named Agnes Lloyd, who died 13th of November 1918, aged 71 years. Trust in him. So yeah. I'm not taking pictures of these ones today because this is a vast cemetery. So if anyone does want or require pictures, you'll have to do screenshots, I'm afraid. And I am terribly... Oh, it's alright. It's a big enough gap for me to walk in between. I hate walking on graves. And my balance now is absolutely shot to pieces, I'm afraid. Some of them I'll just pick out as I go along, and there's a Commonwealth Wargrave behind there, which we're going to go and check in a minute. In a ever affectionate memory of a beloved husband and father, Lucien Auguste Reverend, who entered into rest 17th of December 1929, aged 46 years. And there's a verse, of course. Edward John Simmons died 30th of January 1932, aged 67. Also, Elizabeth Jane Raffray died 16th of February 1953, aged 70 years. But over here is a Commonwealth Wargrave that I can see, so we'll go and check that out. Oh, I always kept... Oh, sorry. Someone's grave then. Then you've got Lieutenant L.R. Fox, Royal Air Force, 1st of May 1919. Oh, that's the early Royal Air Force, age 20. I will photograph this gentleman. In ever loving memory of my dear husband, William T. Fox, who fell asleep 6th of January 1928, aged 64 years. That must be this man's father. See, it does to hunt around. Ooh, and again, there's a grave there, and I've just walked into the dip of it two times. Sorry. Yeah, it does sometimes to look around and see gravestones. You may not look where you're going, and you may fall into graves that have collapsed in on themselves. I've done that several times. I hurt my ankle really bad once doing that. I'll try and pick out old ones. In ever loving memory of Alfred Herbert Ford, HAC. I wonder what the HAC is. If anyone knows, you could tell me, please. Who died January the 8th, 1918, from illness contracted while serving with BEF, British Expeditionary Force, France. Ah, right. Age 19 years. Also, Alfred Hollyford, father of the above, passed suddenly to his rest September the 11th, 1921, aged 54. Also, Clara, wife of Alfred Hollyford, taken home October the 1st, 1921, aged 54. Also, Ivy Clara Ford, daughter of the above, departed this life August 7th, 1924, aged 21. Also, Edward George Ford, son of the above, who died May the 28th, 1933, aged 24. So I will take a picture of that one because of the top gentleman Private PTE, it's private. I didn't see that bit. It's Private Alfred Herbert Ford, HAC. He's serving with the British Expeditionary Force. So if anyone can tell me what HAC means, because I honestly don't know, and I love to learn new things. So I always say that life is a lesson. You should never stop learning. And what I like about my page and Memories of Plaistow, where I share this content, is there's another Commonwealth Wargrave over there. Sorry, is that people educate you, but they do it without coming across sanctimonious or know-alls. It's I love Plaistow, Memories of Plaistow. It's such a lovely group, and I love everyone on my page, obviously, as well. So it's, you know, oh, look at me being all friendly and good God, someone throw some water on me. Can't remain in this mood of cheerfulness. It's just not right. In loving memory of Eddie, our dearly beloved only son, died December the 13th, 1918, aged 17 years. For of such is the kingdom of heaven. I wonder if he died in the war. Also James Edwin Macmillan, father of the above. So Eddie is called Macmillan. Father of the above, who passed September the 6th, 1930, aged 61, until the day breaks. Also Elizabeth Macmillan, mother, who passed on March 19th, 1950, aged 81 years. Then you've got also Grace Margaret Winter, daughter, beloved wife of Frank, 4th of April 1972, aged 77, cremated. A bit more recent than I would usually cover, and we're going to get you to about 20 to 25 minutes, because of a happening that there shall be some pictures online. I've not checked, but of a mare. Oh, look at that, it's a grave. You have to, I'm glad I spotted that one. That's an ankle turner, that one. That'll turn your ankle over. And we've got a Commonwealth War grave over here. Oh, and another grave. You see, it's an awful thing, and whether you're cremated, it's a different thing. But when you're buried, eventually your coffin will go. It collapses. It's known as a CC in the trade, and that's where you get those big dips. But the better the coffin, the longer it takes. But as they say, from earth to earth, ashes to ashes. That's where we come. That's where we go back. M2045977, Private J.G. Warlow, Royal Army Service Corps, 10th of February 1919, aged 32 years. And see what I mean about the vastness of this cemetery. We've got so much to cover. But I'm going to go back on myself, finish this video in a minute. Whew. Go back on myself. I'm getting out of breath. Keep getting that lately. Go back on myself, and if that funeral has gone from that chapel, I want to show you it, because it's a little... they're funerary chapels, so it doesn't seem right to say it's a lovely chapel, but they really built these beautiful little chapels in this cemetery well and old. So, and you know me and old architecture and chapels. So yeah, that's where we'll be heading back over to. That way you can just see the wall of the chapel through the graves. So that's where we'll be heading. Each funeral service is around about 20 to 25 minutes. So that's where we'll be going now. I'll point you this way because the car's coming along. So yeah, join me for that. And off we go. At the end of this video, you'll get, if there are pictures of the people, hopefully that Reverend who wrote the books and found, he did a lot, so I'm hoping there's pictures of him. There's bound to be one of the mayor and mayoress. If there isn't, I shall be very surprised. Anyway, and I shall even look for Private Alfred Herbert Ford, HAC, which served with the British Expeditionary Force. Hopefully, you never know. So join me for that part, and then after that you can join me for the next. And the first person I've chosen to illustrate from our tour is the first grave we visited in part 1. To the memory of the Reverend Robert Hunter, MA, LLD, FGS, author of numerous works. He was born at Newburgh, Fifeshire, September the 3rd, 1823, and died at Forest Retreat, Loughton, Essex, on February the 25th, 1897. Gentle, learned, modest, devout, in soul he never ceased to be a child. Quite a well-travelled and learned and erudite man, obviously, because teacher and naturalist in Bermuda, 1843 to 1845, missionary of the Free Church of Scotland at Nagpur, 1847 to 1855. Tutor in the College of the Presbyterian Church of England, 1864 to 1866. Founder of the Victoria Docks Presbyterian Church, London. That's the Royal Victoria Docks in our bit of London, or my bit of London, and that's the little church that was sadly bombed in the Second World War and never rebuilt. And a preacher at Selwynstone, Essex, 1870 to 1897. Erected by loving friends, which is a nice little touch. And something that we don't often get the chance to do in my cemetery tours is see pictures of the actual people, because this is such a big cemetery and there are quite a few affluent and well-known people buried there. Luckily sometimes you'll get an image of them, and this is one of the cases we were lucky with, and I absolutely love this picture because most Victorian people, let's be honest, look pretty surly and miserable. And that's because of the photography of the time and the exposure time, because if you smiled and your lips twitched, you'd end up with about a dozen lips. But Robert, as you can see, has got a very kind, gentle, open face, which I thought was a nice touch as well. So, and sorry the image is a little bit blurry, but this is a little thumbnail image. It took me ages to find, attached to an online biography about notable religious people. So it took me a while to find that, but it's all interesting research. And this is where Robert died. Forest Retreat, Loughton. This is it in 1900, but it wouldn't have changed that much in all those years. So yeah, this is where he spent his last days and where he passed on. And unlike any of my other cemetery tours before, with this one we get access to the burial records for some of the people whose graves we've visited. So let me hand you over to that very last chapter from Robert's life. And like my intro, the tours of this cemetery are going to be a little bit different because we actually get access to the original burial records. So, for our first man, Robert Hunter. Here we are. Burial 255957. 3rd of March, 1897. Robert Hunter. And it was at Staples Road, Loughton, which is where the nursing home was where he died. Age 73. District was Chigwell, Essex, Loughton. Plot number 111, grave 50368. Grant number 5211. And it is a first class private grave. Interestingly enough, for a minister, unconsecrated. And D. Farthingham performed the ceremony, and the registrar was L.A. Wood. So yeah, as I say, this is a little bit different to our other tours because we're actually going to see, not with all the cases, but with some of the people that we see, we're going to see the original burial records and their burial entry. So there we are, there's Robert Hunter, our first man. Now on to our next people. And now on to our next couple, the Wisemans. Mayor and Mayoress, both JPs. Interesting one, and a little bit of incorrect information on Mrs. Wiseman, I'm afraid. And it was only through the help of the cemetery, who keep a log of all their private and vault burials, that they were able to help me with this one. Because I searched the burial registers for 1926 and found nothing for her. So I asked, and they went, is it a private or a vault? I went, it's a vault. They went, oh, give us a minute. They went and had a look and discovered that she actually died in 1925, which I'll show you in a minute, but yeah. Here are the Wisemans in 1920 at a charitable event that was arranged obviously through East Ham Town Hall or something like that, or through his mayoralty. But there they are. You can see Mr. and Mrs. Wiseman there. He's got his mayor's chain on and that, which is nice to see. And really this would have been his world and her world, really. Both being JPs at the court that would have been here, the county court, they would have both practised from here, and being mayor and mayoress, they both would have spent a lot of time here as well. It's East Ham Town Hall, pretty much in their day as they would have known it. So yeah, that's a bit of the Wiseman's lives. And now on to the last chapter for Mrs. Wiseman first. I'll show you for... Here we see on the gravestone it says that she died on the 12th of November 1926. Well, it turns out that she died on the 12th of November 1925. Here's the entry for her death, and this is through the official births, marriages and deaths thing, so we know that this is correct. And also, as I said, through the kind help of the cemetery with the burial records. So after a lot of trawling and then asking onto the correct burial record for Mrs. Wiseman. And here we are with the actual correct burial entry for Mrs. Wiseman from the correct year. Massive thanks to Janice from the cemetery office for helping me with this one, it's really appreciated. Here we are, General Register of Interments in the City of London Cemetery. And she's second down on the list, so not too difficult to find. Burial 358135. Buried on November the 19th, 1925, and she died on 12th of November 1925. Rebecca Florence Wiseman, address Benison Lodge, Aldersbrook Road. So that's their house. I did look online for a picture but couldn't find anything. Aged 53. Where the death was registered, North East Ham, Essex. From what parish she was removed, East Ham. Square number 94, grave number 94482, number of grant 22161, and the grave is a first class private grave, unconsecrated. Ceremony was performed by W. Werman, and the registrar was J.D. Robertson. There we are, so that's Mrs. Wiseman. And after that little bit of toing and froing and actually finding the correct year, that's the last chapter of her life, bless her. And now on to Mr. Wiseman, an interesting man in his own right, a little bit of a rags to kind of riches story in a way. Albert Henry Wiseman, Mayor, Justice of the Peace, and OBE, Order of the British Empire, which he was awarded in 1919 for services to the public good. I couldn't find anything else more other than that. Interesting man, really. He was, as I say, a kind of a rags to riches story. He started his working career off being apprenticed to a tinsmith. Then he worked his way up through the trade, and we find him, obviously, in the cemetery, and we find him in 1920 and 21 as Mayor of East Ham. He was only mayor for a short time, and I found out the reason that he left is due to ill health and due to the ill health of his wife as well. So that was the reason that he's only such a short tenure. But here is the death entry for Albert Henry Wiseman. Correct year and everything on the gravestone, unlike with his wife. But I thought I'd show you this just to show you some of the research that goes into these kinds of things. Thought you might find it interesting. But on to Albert's burial entry now. And here we are, the burial entry for Albert Henry Wiseman. 1940, so the Blitz and the Second World War. As we know, Albert Henry died on the 2nd of July 1940 and was buried on the 5th. His burial 401825, buried 5th of July. Albert Henry Wiseman, same address as his wife, so they're still at the same place, Denison Lodge, Aldersbrook Road. Age 70, and the death was registered at East Ham North, and the body was removed from East Ham. Square number 94, grave 94482, and its grant number 22161, first class grave, general, right, so it's got, rather than unconsecrated, they've put general. And the ceremony was performed by A.F. Billings. As for the registrar, right at the end, I cannot make out that little squiggle of a name, I'm afraid. But yeah, there we are. There's our man, Albert Henry Wiseman. And this concludes part 1 Hope you've all found this interesting. Thanks very much for watching, and join me again soon for part 2.